And we are live. JT here. Welcome to the huddle. The huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I want to take a moment to thank you, whether you are watching on YouTube or on Facebook, or whether you're listening to the audio on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest today. And here's my friendly reminder to you. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's wide open. So my challenge to you is to go all in on this conversation, to remove any distractions and get laser focused on the here and the now. And I guarantee you, you will gain a valuable nugget of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sport, but more importantly, in the game of life. I've been looking forward to my conversation with my special guest today. Before we hit record and went live, we were saying, we like life. We had planned to have this conversation a few weeks back, but then again, as in life, ebbs and flows, as in sport, some plays go well, some plays don't. But again, it just showed our commitment to have this powerful conversation today. My guest in the huddle today is currently serving as the founder of DawkSports Athletic Association. My guest in the huddle today is Kevin Dawkins. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, definitely, brother. And as I was sharing before we went live here, ever since we first connected a few months ago, I have definitely been intrigued watching and just really wanted an opportunity to get to learn more about your journey to greatness. Before we get kicked off, I really want to take a moment to count my blessings. For me, this is a daily practice. Some days I do it better than others, but I do find the days where I'm most consistent and counting my blessings, I do find those days are filled with a little more love, a little bit more joy, a little bit more peace. So I'm a big believer, biggest blessing you can give anyone is your time and energy. So I just want to thank you again for blessing me with some of your time and energy here today, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We're going to have to do a reverse huddle one of these days and get to know a little bit more about you. You're very intriguing as well.
Hey,
So thank you. It is a blessing to meet up with you and just to hear what you're all about. And I'm super excited on having this conversation.
Absolutely, brother. Now, one of the first things that I'd like to remind people is that life is a game. Games are supposed to be fun. I had a great coaching colleague and a great friend that used to remind me that, hey, we all have these things that make us unique and different, and it's our responsibility to celebrate it. So I'm curious, is there an interesting fact about you that maybe a lot of people don't know that you would be open to sharing with our community today?
I see that's a really good question. We used to two truth and a lie. Yeah, so some of the things I used to say was one was I played professional football. Two, I have a twin. And the third one was traveled to 15 different countries. So he used to ask people, what do you think would the lie be with that?
I would say the travel to 15 countries.
Okay, those are good. Those are good ones. Actually, it was 10. So I apologize. I was kind of caught me off guard on that. So it was 10 countries, and I did do 10 countries so far.
Okay.
But the lie is I have never played professional football. I've come close to because of my structure and my background in football.
Yeah.
I've come close. I've had many journeys, the injuries, and all that. But the lie that everybody always thinks of is they don't think I'm a twin. They don't think I'm a twin. So I am a twin. I have a twin. And the exciting part about that is it's a twin sister. So yeah, so
Mm.
no one's ever seen two of me around, so they assume that that's the lie. So the
Mm.
interesting thing is I have a twin sister. She was born 15 minutes before me. So she always the intriguing part, she always says that she's older than me. So she wants to make that very clear. And she has four brothers, so four of us. So yeah, so that's intriguing. And then she had twins, and then
Mm.
I had twin brothers as well.
Okay.
So it's really interesting the twin dynamics of that. So when I get excited when I come across other twins and just what they're all about and the connection and the connection between non-thoughts and how they grew up and all that. So mine's a little bit more unique because I grew up with a girl,
Yeah.
Karen. But so that's the nugget.
Okay. So it sounds like you've always been surrounded by a strong and powerful team.
Yes, yes, that's actually a really good way of putting it. There's seven in the family, and the five kids. We grew up like most Caribbean families. We grew up really fast. I'm the eldest with my sister. I have another brother, Wayne, who's 18 months younger than me, and then I have twin brothers who are 7 years younger than me. So
Mm.
younger than me. So the day they were born, I
Mm.
became an adult, and I've been
Yeah.
taking care of kids. So I was 7 going on 8 years old. So
Yeah.
at 8 years old, I was it's like a destiny to take care of my family. My parents both worked many jobs, like most immigrants coming in from. We came from Jamaica,
Mm.
and so we had to tend for ourselves. We had to make sure that we ate, we got to bed on time, did our homework, and all that.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of trickled along. So here I am today as doing dog sports.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's interesting, right? And I love how you share that, that's one of the blessings, right? Like similar to you, my parents immigrated to this country and because they were, their time and energy was in demand, building us a life here, providing, putting food on the table, roof over the head, paying the mortgage, all that stuff. You were sort of forced in a loving way to sort of figure it out
Yeah,
yourself, and then you sort
yeah,
of learn how to, like you said, how to brush your teeth, how to feed yourself, and how to get yourself from point A to point B. So I
yeah.
really can resonate. That really resonates with me.
Times were a little bit different back then. So we
Yeah.
talked about the sun went down is when you came home, and there was no worry about can reach you on via cell phone and stuff. You just found a way to make it home, and you're got home safely. So
Yeah,
times are a little bit different now for sure.
absolutely. So I'm curious, brother. As you were describing, you've had this long, time in sport, right? Like you were first a high quality athlete, and then you've transitioned into becoming a high quality coach and leader. So it's very evident that sport has played an important role for you in your life. I'm
Absolutely.
curious, what would you say has been the biggest life lesson you've taken away from sport? And again, I'll preface it by, again, I know there's many lessons, but what would you say is
Many.
that one lesson that still resonates with you today and impacts other areas of your life?
That's a loaded question. It can go so many different directions. But I think the biggest component from sports for me is how sports and life kind of intertwine with each other. For example, the losses. We myself and one of my main coaches, Steve Moore, we talk about wins and learns. So we don't lose when we lose a game. We've learned from that. We learned about each other. Him and I have grown so much in our relationship because some losses, we take it really hard. And we realized that it wasn't what about those losses because we have learned from and grow from the kids. Oh my gosh, the kids, they change. Losing changes a lot of different people's personality. I feel losing brings out your true personality. I think winning, in my opinion, um, kind of um, muddles some personalities because you win. Everything's okay. You don't get a chance to discuss what went wrong and why we had that argument, why we had that fight or heated discussion. But when you lose, all that stuff comes out, and your true character and nature really comes out. So you really get a chance to see different people in those lights. And yeah, so that's for me. It's interesting. It's turns out football is what I use.
Mhm.
But it's not about the sport. It's not about football. It's about what the game does and brings out. So that's why I bring the young men and women in my life, and we talk about that. We have lot of conversation outside of football, and
Mhm.
we'll discuss this more outside of football. We have our barbecues. I had a birthday party just last week. I had 100+ people at my house, and I'd say 90% of them was through football.
Mhm.
So it just continues to grow. The family just grows outside of the football field, and the game. It's once the game's over, that's when I look back and I sit back and we had a huge tournament in Niagara Falls a little while back, and I had about 7 teams, about 70 kids, and they're all wearing, we call ourselves the Cowboys, and there's a sea of blue all around. And out of my 7 teams, 4 of them lost.
Mhm.
They lost their first day in the playoffs. And you can just see that they're out there playing and they're having fun, the parents interacting. So yeah, it's a long with an answer, but
Mhm.
I love how that sport of football and all sports does it, sports football kind of gets you to really get to know I get to know myself. I've learned so much about myself through football, and we'll discuss even more because I have a few good examples on that later on. But yeah, it's just amazing how what sports does for me, or football does for me.
Mhm. I love that share. And why it resonates with me is it really reminded me of that Nelson Mandela quote. I never lose, I either win or I learn. And it's interestingly, I have that as a quote at the bottom of every email through my Football Ontario email address. So it's something that always reminds me. One thing I really love that you shared is that you view sports as football as simply a vehicle to, reinforce greater life lessons. I'm curious, has that been something you've always understood that, football is just a vehicle? Or is that something that a great, coach or mentor helped you to better understand?
You'll never believe how I figured this out. So when I first got into coaching and all that, it's about the wins and the losses and making the people I'm coaching better, because I felt I was missing that. I felt I was athletic when I was younger, but I had a few coaches in high school that really pushed me and stuff. And later on down the road, I played semi-pro football. I played junior ball. I went to college and I played basketball at Humber College. But there was a lot of coaches that kind of helped me, but I felt like there wasn't that extra beyond the court or the field. So I got injured when I was about 30, and that's kind of how DawkSports kind of started, and I started coaching women's football. If you want to learn anything about yourself as a male,
Mhm.
you have to take on that challenge. And the amount of stuff I learned about myself, about how to treat people, how to
Mhm.
treat athletes, was through coaching women. And the reason I say that is because it was easy for me to coach men and young boys, because that's what I've always been. I've been that. I grew up, and so maybe yelling or patting them on the back or whatever you would do growing up, and what I see, and you kind of test it. Some that doesn't work, and you move on. But coaching women, you have to start from the very beginning, and it doesn't matter how much you know, how much you think you know, um, but starting just from the minuscule X's and O's, number one, and then the personalities, the different degrees of personalities that come with it is unbelievable. It's actually emotional at times. And what I learned from that the most was that I took that and I brought it into men's football, and I brought it into kids, so boys and girls football. And I realized those personalities I learned um, of how to deal with people when I brought that in, and that's where my dog sports just flourished. My coaching just flourished. I started building relationships off of the field. I started building relationship after the game. I started building relationship before the game. I started building relationship during the game, because it doesn't matter if I win this game. If that person is so upset that they can't continue the game, I'm going to stop this game right now. I don't need to continue coaching. There's tons more games happening. So by doing that, I was able to learn a lot about. And then another small part is I met my wife through football, and I'm sure I'll bring that up. But my wife teaches something called True Colors. I'm not sure if you've ever taken True Colors, or it's a personality dimension in True Colors. And if you have a chance, you should take a course on that. And what it is, it's four different colors of your personality, and that color spectrum taught me that I'm a certain color, and it's called orange. And my wife, for example, is another color, and she's gold. And orange is a very fly by night, jump on a plane, who cares where we're going type of personality. Where my wife is more gold, and she's less than organization and all that. And they talk about opposite attract. That's exactly what probably brought us together. A little bit more orange in her life and a little bit more gold in her life, or vice versa. But the main thing that taught me is that all the different spectrums of people as well. So there's a blue, which is a little bit more caring. There's a green that comes with thoughts and analytic. And so when I'm dealing with a person, I look at them and I say, that person's green. They need a little bit more time. They need to digest what I just said. This person's orange. That's the person that's going to run the route. That's the first person that comes to the front of the line, and you say, run this pattern, and they run it really hard, and that was wrong. But they're okay. They're okay to be embarrassed. A gold person, I may have to tell them the night before, hey, I may need you to run someplace for me. Can you get ready? What place, coach? This one and this one, and they get themselves, and they so that bringing that all together and then bringing it back was just a game saver. And from there, the sky's the limit for how I deal. And I bring it into my personality. I bring it into any job I do. I bring it all of it. And it's worked so well for me.
Mm. I love that you share that, brother. And what really came up as you were sharing that was, you talked about this idea of like people first. It's about building those relationships. And it sounds like you really developed this ability to be empathetic with others, to practice being more patient and understanding with others. And it's interesting because as I observe you and watching you coach, and again, we first met and I was watching you in a beautiful game that was back and forth, filled with ebbs and flows, lots of changes to the scoreboard, but you were consistently that calm and confident leader. That's when I became a fan. And it was interesting because I've sort of discovered now what one of your superpowers is your ability to really stop and think about what is it that this person needs so I can truly help them to get to where they want to go. So I just want to acknowledge you for that superpower. And then really it helped me to understand why you are doing what you are doing today.
Sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes that person doesn't even know they needed that. And sometimes I didn't know. I did not know they needed that. Just light bulb goes off sometimes in the middle of a game, beforehand, just having conversations. And you're like, that person needs a hug. That person needs a firm talking. That person needs a timeout, like a true timeout, not a full team timeout. That person needs a timeout. They're hyperventilating. Their heart rate is going up high. They just need a second. And I didn't know that stuff. No one taught me that. I didn't go to a coaching school to tell me that. So you're right. I feel I try to stay as in a zen, calm moment, and then when I do that, my brain just goes superpowers. This is what we need. We need that timeout. We need to bring the whole team together on the field, not off the field. There's too much commotion on the sideline, and and then they just need their name, JT. JT, are you with me? Yes, coach. We need you right now. Yeah, I got you, coach. We're going to do that special play we discussed about. Let's go. And there it is. It just happens.
And it's interesting because, again, I've seen you from afar doing that, right? And I go back to, again, this was a provincial U16 gold medal game. And again, lead changes back and forth. It was an amazing game to watch.
Thank
And
you.
you could see how your calm and confident demeanor trickled down to the players. Like that's where I'm like they're on every word that you have. Even I watched the parents, like
I was gonna say, I was gonna
they
say,
were calm as well. So again, my question is, again, you've been doing this a while, right? Like you've been like Doc Sports has been going for 25 years. Like you've been in this space for a while. How important is it for coaches and leaders to understand that attitude always filters from the top down?
100%. I take full responsibility. If I lose my cool, I that's actually one of the compliments I got from the organizer. I was in Halifax for the U16 championship, or was it U14? Sorry, I was in Winnipeg for U16 U14 championship, and I had a gentleman come up to me and he said, I've never seen anybody like you before. Like in the middle of the game, in the middle of a play, I'm saying that was my fault. That's completely my fault. I want that player because I want the player to understand, because when it's your turn to be at fault, that's when the learning starts. If you give me three, four excuses before I even get a chance to tell you what you did wrong, you're not learning. It's okay to make a mistake, because guess what? I just did. I completely just made that mistake. That touchdown that was caused against us was my fault. I called the wrong defense at the wrong time. I put you in a bad position, and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I'm loud and I coach, and I want the other sideline to hear that. I want the confidence of all the parents and all the fans. And he came up to me and he was like, "Wow, what you just did there was, I've never seen that before." They said, the player makes a mistake, you yell at them, and you're right. It starts with me. Has to start with me, and that's what I try to do. Someone said to me yesterday, "I hope you never stop coaching," and I don't think I ever will, but I do believe it's time for me to start coaching coaches. I believe I have to start teaching coaches how to be coached, how to not make the mistakes I made. I've made tons of mistakes. I'm not perfect. 25 years is a lot of errors. But what did I learn from that? Where did I take that? Did I give up? I just said, no, it's a new challenge. I got to move on. Sometimes you can apologize as much as you want, but it's too late. You can't apologize to that person. You've already hurt them, hurt their feelings, hurt. That's it. So nothing you can do about that. So you move on and let's not get to another person to do that. Back to the women's sports, I always laugh and say, I get some women are so angry at me afterwards that they won't even name their child Kevin. The name Kevin is like, forget about it. If they need a boyfriend, Kevin, you're done. And that's how much they can take it that personally. And that's a big thing. That's good for me to know. Like that's how much power there is in teaching each other how to handle each other, because oh my God, that the name Kevin and will never be said in their name. For that's how much that one coach can make a difference. And it's a little bit dramatic saying that, but I talk about that from other things. So when I'm dealing with young ladies, they see me as this big giant black guy. What I say and what I do can make them nervous in the future. Men as well, young boys, yeah, they're going to be me someday. And how I treat their mother, their sister, their younger sister, how do strangers? I want them to see that. I want them to copy what I'm doing, and it's important for me, for that. So yeah, it starts from the top. Like it says, a trickle down effect, and it's in me. And on the flip side, which is very important, the compliments have to come from the bottom up. You're the last to take credit for that win. If you start taking credit for that win and the success, you're going to lose a lot of people. So you have to really go as far as that person that did not play today, but man, at practice, they were that person that we used to be that head of the other team, we beat that person up in practice. You're the reason why we won today, from the assistant coaches. If you don't give your assistant coaches love, you're going to lose them. From the
Mhm.
parents that drove their child to practice, if you don't give them a clap, a hip hip hooray, you're going to lose them as well. And at the very end, players, and then I already know I don't really need the accolades. I'm sitting here and what I just said in the last couple minutes, in let's say we're doing a breakdown, that's that's mine. I'm happy with that. That's my sort. I like to celebrate.
Mm.
You know, so it makes a difference.
I love, again, brother, the more you share, the more you share from your lived experience, I start to understand why we're connected. And it's interesting that as you were sharing there, it reminded me of that Maya Angelou quote, right? The sort of paraphrase, like people will forget what you said, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And it's
100%.
and it's interesting because whether we acknowledge it or not, we're always making people feel something. And from what I found from my experience, when I leave people feeling better, when they feel like their life is more enriched and you sort of left them better off than before you got there, that really is foundational to creating and living a rich and fulfilling life.
Yeah, no, you're right about that because I had a conversation with my wife last night about what is Doc Sports all about, and I have a plan in the future. I left sports as a generic because I want to eventually branch off and talk about golf and volleyball and all that stuff. But right now it's football. So she was saying, this is what you are now. When people think about you, they think Doc Sports, they think football. And not only that, they think about, the relations they built. So if you go to someone who's been part of a Doc Sports event or a Doc Sports league, um, they can tell you exactly how they feel and how they felt about that. I'd say, and I'm not being arrogant at all, I'd say 90+% of the people can tell you they had a good time.
Mhm.
They got something. I don't care if they lost 4 games in that tournament. They had a good time. They did. I used to run a Thursday night league, and that Thursday night league, I had people coming to that league. They were off that day. They're not supposed to. They had a bye week, and they're there. They went out and partied and came back. The league finished at midnight. They're 11 o'clock. They're there. We went to a bar afterwards. They were there. And when we closed that league down, to this day, it's been about 6 years since the league, and they're still like, when you bring that league back, that like Thursday night was everything to me. They had so much fun with that. I used to run kids camps, and now these kids are in their 20s, and they'll remember learning how to catch a football. They remember the spaghetti lunches. I had an assistant, Lynn Weeks, that helped me out, and we gave lunch every day. My wife said, like, why do you do that? I go, because that's what they remember. Like
Yeah.
that rainy day where we couldn't even play football. We had tents and we had all the time we're playing Monopoly. That's what they remember. Like the kids
Mhm.
they always say that they say remember, pizza and all that. So those are you know, the great memories for that.
Hmm. It's interesting, right? And I think back to, again, your experience prior to coaching was as a high quality athlete, right? And I remember a lot of our older players, at different stages, high school, university, saying, you know what, you won't miss the games as much as you'll miss being in the locker room around other people, and it's kind of like that idea, right?
Oh
It's
my
supposed to be
God,
the
yeah.
people.
It's so true, so true. Yeah, that's where I built a lot of my relationships as well. Like some of my closest friends is through sports. I played for the Toronto Athletics, which is a semi-pro team that played against Americans. I played for the Oakville Longhorns, And to this day, we meet up, we have dinners, we have cottage weekends, and unfortunately, some of our friends that are passed away, we meet up for the funerals. Like there's just so much, and then now their kids are now starting to come play, and we want to go and watch. But yeah, the relationship you build from that is just, and that's what you miss. You're right. That's I laugh because I moved to Brampton and I have a nice sized house, but it's emptier than when I lived in the basement apartment out in Scarborough.
Yeah.
And that's, everybody was together. We were all literally on top of each other and enjoying and playing dominoes and cards and, all that stuff. It's really, but we all have to grow up and we all went our separate ways and out of the GTA a little bit. And it's just, it's you're right. The memories you gain from that from sports is unbelievable. Like yeah, there's a few championships out there that you remember, and it was
Yeah.
fun. One of my highlights is I played for Team Canada's flag football team,
Yeah.
and we were in I think it was Dominican Republic. I can't remember what country it was, but it wasn't about that. It was about they played the national anthem, and we walked into the stadium as a Canadian team and looking up, the stadium was empty. There was nobody there. But that feeling of just walking into the stadium and playing the national anthem and sharing that moment with my teammates and stuff is just something I just never forget. And you're right, those are the memories the sports just brings you. Like I've traveled so many different countries because of football, and I never played professionally, but for somehow, with flag and touch football, I was able to still France, Dominican, Bahamas, Mexico, tons of states. I've been to all these different countries to do something I love. So I just want to, Dog Sports was created to like, I want to bring people. Like we're going to Florida at the end of this year in January. We're going to Florida. My plan is to bring 100+ people with me. And guess what we're doing afterwards? We're going on a cruise, So like, and already the parents are getting excited about the cruise. This is barely about football, It's about those memories that we're gonna share. Like it just this, I guess can't wait. I'm just so excited just talking about it.
Well, it's interesting, right? And hearing you share it, it really, reminds on the power of like just provide rich and meaningful experiences for others, right? And you can never lose. And it's interesting because one thing you said to me a few minutes ago that really resonated with me is, hey, you've created a ton of success. Like you've built this beautiful, I wouldn't even say it's like this, beyond a business. It's like this, you've helped to develop so many amazing, strong and powerful leaders over the last 25 years. But what really sort of caught my ear was how you talked about you feel called for more. Like you feel this deep responsibility to take all of this valuable lived experience, all this wisdom that you've gained and gathered, and now you want to share it with other coaches who are maybe less experienced, but just to show them that if you truly want to help and serve others, which that's the purpose of coaching, you have to do things in a certain way. So I'm curious, yeah, I'd love to hear more about what sort of, I don't know, where's that inspiration coming from, you think?
Yeah, that's great. Let me pull it back a little bit and talk about how where Dog Sports started. So Dog Sports started as my brother and I felt there was a need. So my brother runs a company called Phase One. He does basketball programs, and that's different avenue and gamut of that. But when we first joined together, Dog Sports Athletic and Phase One, we used to run fashion shows. We used to run talent shows. So we used to rent space in high schools and we used to get kids to come and perform, singing, dancing, all that before internet kind of blew up and YouTube and stuff kind of blew up. And we realized when we were done how we felt about it, something that we felt we didn't have, and I'm talking about we were, I was in my 20s and he was my brother's a couple years younger than me. So we didn't know what we're doing. We didn't know how. We charged $2 at the door. We didn't do it for the money. And but the experience those kids gained from it. My brother's taught stepping. I emceed. It's funny, I used to get nervous during presentations, but I emceed all these shows. I did all these different things. So from there, he branched off more from the basketball perspective, and then I went towards the football, and I felt like there was more, we needed more. So I grabbed a group of people and we went to Florida for a tournament for a flag football tournament. A group of girls and myself coaching, and some of my friends came with me. And then from that experience, we just kind of trickled down and kind of kids camps and tournaments and leagues and organizing through reffing through TDSB and now running a Under Armour group in Brampton now as well that I've just started. And you're right, it just every time I do more of that, I feel like what else can I do? How else can we branch off? How else can we trickle? But you have to be careful. Growing too fast can kind of dilute the situation too as well. So that's when I started bringing in help. I literally reached out this year and said, "Hi, I need help. I need help. My coaches, all these players that I put into. Um, can you help me?" And the amount of people that said, yes, 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 what do you need? We've been waiting for this, it's just been amazing. So, I want to, continue, and I want to have someone come in and help me with the academic part of it. I want someone who's stronger. We talked about the personality dimensions and true colors. I want someone to come in and like my wife, Jackie, to come and teach that with the kids. Like I want all that stuff to be put together before you even get on the football field, before we get on whatever that sports field. And I'm a huge believer that sports transition to each other. I played basketball for Humber College. I played football. I did track. I felt it made me a better athlete. Basketball made me a better football player. Football made me a much better basketball player. And I can see that intertwining. My son, Taden, he does rep baseball. He does tackle football, flag football. He plays rep basketball, and he's 12. And it is a juggle, or 13, just turned 13. His birthday is the same day as mine, actually, September 2nd. So he's a teenager now. And we're starting to realize it's hard as he gets older, it's a little bit harder to do all those reps. So we're going to have to emphasize some more. But he's such a good athlete. And what he's learned from that, it's just been unbelievable. And what I like about the different sports that he plays, baseball brings a totally different community of people. Basketball brings another group of people. And football to me is the ultimate bring everybody together because every shape and size is needed. But because of his personality, he's able to get along with all different types of walks of life. And that's kind of what I became. I became that person that was able to bringing the Scarborough to Markham to Peterborough to Niagara Falls, bring all different types of people together to meet and to battle, but then have fun and celebrate it afterwards. So yeah, what's next for me? Just continue to grow DawkSports, make it bigger. Um, it's a long-winded answer, but recently my brother passed away. And one thing that's taught me from him passing is that stress can really do a lot damage to you as a person. And so I've learned that I don't want to be in environments where I'm constantly stressed. Yes, I want to be challenged. Yes, I want to learn. But if I can put myself in environments where those stressors aren't really, don't really take you over, that's important to me. So when I think about DawkSports, it's not stressful. It's a very calming environment. It's I the people that come, they may come with some stresses, but for the time that they're there, for the game, for the tournament, they they leave with that. Oh, I'm so glad I came today. Thank you for organizing that. Thank you for running that. So for me, what else can I do to bring those? Because life, as you know, brings so much stress, and the stress is getting younger and younger. My brother was
Mhm.
47 when he passed, but you know, when I say younger, I'm talking about teenagers and 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. They have their stressors too. And what can I do to, you know, for the moment, I can look at the mom and say, I got him, I got little JT Jr. here. Bring him to me. I got him. You go sit down, have a good time. Let me take care of him for at least an hour, up to 23 hours. Let me just, I got you. And that's huge. Maybe I can teach him something that you couldn't. You know, maybe I can have a conversation with him that what he wasn't able to have a conversation with you about. And then maybe together we can, you know, make that a better experience. And we do that, you know, for 6 weeks. You know, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty important, that we all kind of need that in our lives. And I remember I didn't have that much growing up. My parents say that they worked really hard and everything, but I didn't have to digest afterwards. I tore my ACL on a dunk in a Humber, and I came home and I just started crying, crying and crying and crying and crying. And I couldn't tell. My mom didn't know. She didn't understand sports. Didn't understand. She's never been a young boy before. Like she didn't understand what the emotion I was going through. Because in my mind, I was going to the NBA. I was going to the CFL. I was on my way. I was 21 years old. And back then, when you tear your ACL, it's like a horse breaking their leg. Like you might as well, you're done. You know, I was able to come back and continue playing semi-pro and play flag and stuff. But in my mind, I was done. At 21, I was done. I don't want that feeling. I don't want any kid to ever go through that feeling that, you know, at 15, at 16, at 21, your life is over. It's done because it's far from being done. So yeah, you know, I just want to continue growing it. I want to, you know, thank you for putting me on environments like this so I can tell people more about me. But that's the next stepping stone for me, and to do as much as I can to give back as much as I can, because we don't know how long we have on this earth, and it's important to, you know, don't take every day for granted. You know, live life for its best. You know, do things that you love. You know, tell people that you're sorry, tell them you love them, you know, give them a hug. You know, all those things are gonna can make a big difference that person's life. You know, like you don't know. I know it does for me. I know I can't take enough love. I can't, like, the hugs and kisses and keep coming, let them keep coming my way. I'll never say no to a hug. Never, never. Hug to hello and a hug goodbye. You know, and the beauty of being my age is I don't care who you are. I'll hug grown men. I'll hug, you know, I ask permission first. I'll hug strangers. You know, may I give you a hug? You know, like I just think this is so important to me, you know,
Yeah.
on that stage.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing the journey, right? And I think you do a beautiful job of highlighting both the ebbs and flows, right? And you think back to analogy in sport. Not every play goes as you draw it up, right? Some do, some don't. And that's okay. Um, but you know, like you said, it really comes back to, and I think that this sort of frames a conversation that if you truly go into any situation, any conversation with any person and just go in with an open mind, open heart, you know, what could I do to help and support you right now? Doesn't even have to be a question you ask, but if you just go in with that mindset of just helping that person along at that stage of their journey, something beautiful is going to happen. And
Yeah,
and 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 there's something so simple and so powerful about that.
uh, and listen to the answer. You know, how many times if someone says to you, "How are you?" and you're like, and they're already moved on to something else. They truly didn't even hear you. It's amazing what listening can do. And I had to learn that. I grew up, and you don't talk back to the coaches. The coaches, I'll just tell you when I want your opinion. Like, you know, like I'll tell you what your opinion is. That's the mentality I grew up with. And
Mhm.
you're right. Like, listen to each other. I people think I don't. I hear everything. I hear the comment the parent would say. I hear the comment the other team say. I hear it. I hear the goods. I hear the bads, and
Mm.
I listen and I learn from it. Sometimes I will correct myself from that, from what I hear, and sometimes I just move on from it. But yeah, we gotta listen to each other more. They're saying God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. So it's important. It's important, and there's no age limit. Listen to the 8-year-old. They have a lot to say. It's very interesting what a 9-year-old would say. It's very, very listen to, and there's so many verbal or non-verbal cues as well that you can pick up. That quiet kid in the corner that, you know, bring them to the forefront. Have them do the breakdown. There's always me, and who's going to break it down today? And some people pull back to the back of the line.
Mm.
Hey, come over here, little Johnny. Like, can you break it down? Do you need some help? Like those things. He's gonna go home going, guess what I did today, mommy? I broke it down. Like those are important. Allow them to have their moments. So
Mm.
it does make a big difference to listen. And you're right. We ask a question, we don't listen enough, and then we sometimes take it personally when we do finally do listen, and that stops the learning that we talked about before. That stops the learning. If I take everything personally that I hear, I miss the message. Some days it's hard. It's not easy. Some days you don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear. I don't hear my wife telling me certain things, but I have to sit back sometimes and just digest what she's saying, how she's saying. It might not be the person may not be articulating it the way that you want it to. My brother my brother just passed. One of his phrases was, "Okay, give me the short version. Just give me the whole note." Like, so, and then also one of his friends was like, "I'm telling you my full story. I need to tell you exactly the start and the beginning because to them it's important. It's
Yeah.
important that A and B and C, like if they go straight to C, that they feel that you're not going to understand. And those things are really important to do, to digest.
Absolutely, brother. So I want to be respectful of your time and energy here. I know you've piqued someone's interest of just sharing your lived experience, your journey, and what you're helping to grow with Doc Sports. If someone wants to learn more, or someone maybe just would love, 30 seconds of your time, what's the best way for people to learn more, to follow you, or even connect with you?
Thank you for asking. Right now, Instagram has been amazing. Little smoother. Social media is not my my best friend, so I'm learning of that as well. So, Doc Sports on Instagram is probably the best way. I'm also for the old school Facebook as well. You can catch me on Facebook and under Kevin Dawkins. I'm still revamping my website, so I'm not going to send anyone to my website at the moment. I am doing a big push right now I'm the new commissioner for the Under Armour Flag Football League in Brampton. So it's a big push there. So uaflag.ca Brampton. I'm looking for people to join and to help me to grow. We're right in the middle of Brampton at Kennedy and Queen, and it's an environment that really needs me, I believe,
Mm.
on the field and off the field. I think it's an environment they built a beautiful turf field there, and I think that's going to be my new home for the spring and the fall. So that's I'd love for people to look me up and come on out and come hang out with us, and even if you just want to come and watch and or join, volunteer. I'm looking for volunteers.
Mm.
Again, we talk about coaching the coaches. I'm looking for high school volunteers. I want them to be coaches. I want them to be referees. I want them to be leaders of the community. So if they live in that area, Kennedy and Queen and Brampton, please send your child to me. They need the community hours anyway, so that's a big push. So yeah, so thank you. Phone number 416-520-8245. It can be reached at any time. But yeah, no, thank you for asking that part of it. But yeah, we'd love to and just have a conversation. I'm open. You want to have a call and my child is this way. They're interested in football. I don't do tackle football as much as I used to because I feel like I can now reach more kids from a flag and touch football perspective now, in my opinion, and I get a chance to really teach them the game, and then I send them back to tackle. So listen to your child. If they're not, pushing them to play tackle football and they're just not ready, it's not a good idea. They can pick up tackle football at 16. If they learn their skill sets at 9, 10, 11, 12, and you do so much. Don't be afraid to cross sport them. Do some training, cross training. There are basketball players, or other sports, track and volleyball. Let them play a little flag football, and just again, it kind of gives them some fun way of just letting loose a little bit, and then you'll be amazed to see how much their volleyball be more aggressive, and basketball they're the first to dive on the ground because of it. So don't be afraid to do that. So my son, he does volleyball camps and all the time during the summer and 1 day tournaments, and he loves it. As we talk about basketball real quick, is we teach a lot about basketball, but we don't teach them how to jump in basketball. It's not shoot and that, but we don't say how to. But with volleyball, he probably got about good 6 inches on his vertical because he went to a volleyball camp one weekend. So things like that. So for people to reach out to me, have conversations, ask me about sports in general, and let that.
Absolutely. And I'll be happy to share all of those handles and all that information in the description, either in the podcast, on Facebook, or on YouTube.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Kevin, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the great man you are, the great husband, the great dad, the great teacher, coach, mentor, but more importantly, the amazing human being you are. The one thing I've really gained from this conversation is just the importance of just meeting people where they're at. And when you do that, then and only then are you able to truly enrich their lives. Like I said, you have a beautiful gift of, sort of determining what is it that this person needs so they can get to where they want to go. And I just want to thank you for providing me that reminder today, and just helping our, community to understand the importance of that. So thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on board. It's something I've been looking forward to for months since I've met you. So that's nice. Thanks for sharing. I know we talked about more about life and life and sports than sports and life. So it's really nice to share this.
Absolutely. So folks, Coach Dawkins dropped so many valuable nuggets of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sport, but more importantly, in the game of life. But as I like to remind you every week in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application of great knowledge that actually creates greater results. So my challenge to you is to take one of these valuable nuggets of wisdom and go apply it to your life today. And as I like to remind you every week in the huddle, you are deserving of greatness. You are worthy of greatness. You are greatness. And my only ask from these conversations is, if it resonated with you, if it touched your heart, then please share it with a friend, a loved one, a teammate, just someone you think in your life that would benefit from hearing these positive, inspiring, and empowering ideas. The more people we have listening, understanding, and applying these simple principles to their life, the more blessed this world will be. As always, I love having these conversations with you in the huddle. Have a blessed rest of your day.